Continuing from the previous episode 1160. Hee, everyone, don't worry, this is an auction, and I hope you all abide by our rules. Seeing this thing just show its true colors, it caused such a strong commotion. He and Dead Wind suddenly stepped on. Tyrannical, the incomparable breath instantly protected the entire auction table inside and out. The purpose of the two of them doing this is to shock the younger generation. Hey, the Dead City Lord is joking. We are only seeing something for the first time. Although the two powers of the fire attribute and ice attribute are quite tyrannical, but what it is, I don't know exactly what it is, so please ask the City Lord to explain one or two. To open our eyes to those of us who are immortal. After feeling the strength of the late Btth 2-star Do-Xian and the Dead Wind 2-star Do-Xian, some ill-conceived powerhouses also held back their fiery hearts. Since other people dare to put this thing out for auction, they will naturally have some foolproof strategies, so they don't dare to think carefully. After all, with their strength, no one has enough confidence in the late stage of the 2-star Fighting Fairy and the 2-star Fighting Fairy. Left safely in the hands of the person. Everyone, please take a look. This is the finale of this auction, Immortal Leaf. Death Feng and he stood next to the ice cage and laughed. It sure is this thing. This guy is really a big hand. Hearing Su Feng's words, the mysterious black-robed man in private room number 1 couldn't help laughing. He is not an alchemist himself, and the alchemist metal in his hand was just snatched from others, but by virtue of his tyrannical strength, he barely deceived the strong people present, and obviously, this undead leaf, it is him. The goal of, after a while, the entire auction was filled with shock. What is an immortal leaf? We only know that there is a terrifying holy flame called Undead Fire in the Holy Flame list. Is there some connection between the two? Although they have already smelled the horror of the fire leaves in the ice cage, but the presence of some strong people couldn't help but wonder. Immortal leaf. The undead leaf should have a very close relationship with the undead fire, otherwise the undead dwarf bird would not have rioted like this. At this moment, Xiao Yan finally understood why the undead dwarf bird, which had been sealed by himself and fell into a deep sleep, would riot everything. The root of it is the fire leaf in front of you. Xiao Yan was not in a hurry to look for the immortal fire. After all, he was not ready to devour the medicinal materials of the immortal fire, and when he absorbed the fighting spirit, he would be able to know the trace of the immortal fire. This thing is very likely to have a great relationship with the undead fire. Little guy, you must get this thing at all costs. The ruthless and hungry voice of the Soul Eater also sounded. Yes. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. The undead Minkyu did know some news about the undying fire, but now that the appearance of the undying leaf, in order to make plans for the undying fire in the future, what Xiao Yan said must be obtained. This thing is called Immortal Leaf. If you are not familiar with it, I believe that you will be familiar with another name. The three people in the dazzling enchantment smiled slowly. What's your name? The strong man present couldn't help but ask. Immortal Fire. The next moment, 3 words were softly spit out from the mouth of the Dead Wind. And as the wind of death just fell, the entire auction venue was silent. What is Immortal Fire? Undying Fire is a famous holy flame on the Holy Flame list. It ranks in the top 20 of the Holy Flame list, and even ranks among the 17th terrifying Holy Flame. Its power is more powerful than the Fireheart Tianyan or even the Ghostface Ghost Flame on Xiao Yan. This thing, our Yu family wants it. We, the Lei family, also want to give it a try. Since the two families are so hot, our Qing family is naturally not far behind. Our Hammer Mercenary group also wants to join in. This is an auction. The one with the highest price wins, so let's come too. The next moment, some of the real power minds in the field all spoke up. Obviously, the attractiveness of the things at the bottom of the box is as deadly as venom. At their level, almost all of them are already 2-star fighting immortals, and their talent and age are quite large. If they don't have enough opportunities, breaking through a small level is probably more difficult than reaching the sky. And the wonders of heaven and earth, the magic elixir, is the only choice for these powerhouses. As for the Holy Flame, if they can get one, even if it is the Holy Flame at the bottom of the ranking, it will be enough for them to overcome the difficulties in front of them. Everyone, we wouldn't put this thing up for auction, but we used all the means and couldn't break the shackles of the ice cage, so I have to remind that the fire leaves inside are indeed immortal fire leaves. But whether you can break the ice cage and get the fire leaves depends on your luck. As for whether this undead leaf is related to the undead fire, we don't know. Deadwind laughed. Originally, Deadwind got this thing by accident and wanted to crack it by himself, but for the past 10 years, Deadwind tried his best to break the ice cage, so he had no choice but to put it up for auction. Deathfeng knew that this thing could not be broken by himself, and it was undoubtedly a scourge to keep it in his own hands. Is this ice cage so strong? The strong people present were all stunned when they heard the words. Humph, Dead City Lord, don't talk nonsense, let's make a price. But the mysterious black-robed man in private room number 1 snorted and said directly. It's just that he said slowly in his heart, it's just a bunch of trash. How can the 17th ranked Holy Flame be cracked by brute force? When I get this thing, break the ice cage and get the undead leaves, I can trace the undead fire. At that time, the master can't help me. Susu, a sneer fills the heart of the mysterious black-robed man. Strange, why is the aura of the silhouette in this private room somewhat similar to the people of the soul race? Is it my illusion? But Xiao Yan shook his head slightly. Obviously, he had dealt with the Soul Clan for a long time and was quite sensitive to the spirit of the Soul Clan. Hee, everyone, because this thing is too expensive, if you are a strong person who is interested in bidding, you only need to take the chips in your hand and enter the secret passage from the private room. When I see it, the old man will naturally choose a more satisfactory one. Chips to trade. And don't worry, everyone, this secret passage is extremely hidden, and it will protect your privacy. Deadwind said with a smile. It's really a cunning old fox. Seimei heard the words and smiled slowly. By doing this, he can not only get what he is satisfied with, but also avoid leaking the news of who this undead leaf was taken away by. It seems that this guy is very precious to the undead leaf. Xiao Yan smiled slowly. Everyone, please. After Deadwind finished speaking, a secret passageway appeared in the center of the auction table, and immediately walked down first. Brother Xiao Yan, please. Kingming said politely to Xiao Yan, and then the two of them, one after the other, went out to a secret passage in the private room. This secret passage was clearly connected to the auction booth. However, it is extremely concealed and can better protect the privacy of the auctioneer. I'm currently preparing for English and advanced math exams. The high numbers are really outrageous. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1161. Just after Xiao Yan and Kingming entered the secret passage, they separated from each other. After all, this secret passage extends in all directions. When entering a secret passage this time, there will be special auction personnel to communicate with each other, so there is no need to worry too much about others. It seems that the power of this Ghost King city, even I didn't expect the importance of the undead leaves. Compared with these guys, the chips in my hand seem to be a little too low. Xiao Yan smiled helplessly. After all, I just came to the ghost world, and I was not well prepared, and I didn't know in advance that the highlight of this auction was the undead leaves, otherwise it wouldn't be so shabby. The current Xiao Yan only has a prototype of a 4th grade immortal rank medicinal pill in his hand. This kind of bargaining chip is obviously not qualified in the auction just now. Damn, it seems that I can't bear the child and can't get the wolf. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly, and then started to walk, but a small trace of origin was clearly separated from the ghost-faced soul Yanjing in the sea of fighting qi in his body. Geely, I don't know what Xiao Yan wants to do. Squeak. After walking for about 10 steps, there was a wooden door in front of the secret passage. Xiao Yan gently pushed it open and suddenly a rather delicate small private room came into view. Haha, the respected 3rd rank pharmacist of the imperial rank, I have been admiring it for a long time. Just as Xiao Yan entered it, a rude voice suddenly entered his ears. Bai He? Xiao Yan couldn't help but be surprised when he saw this. Because the one who appeared in the private room and waited for Xiao Yan was none other than the 2nd strongest man in the entire city lord's mansion, Bai He, who was the late 2-star fighting immortal. I didn't expect to let Lord Bai He come in person. Seeing this, Xiao Yan smiled slightly. Obviously the pressure this guy put on him was not small. Your Excellency is a 3rd grade Emperor-level pharmacist. In my Ghost King city, you should be treated like this. Bai He smiled, but he was a little surprised. He should have sensed the breath just now, the strength of this kid in front of him. It seems that there is only 1-star fighting immortal in the early stage. Master Bai is very polite, let's get down to business. Xiao Yan laughed and said, I don't know what Master Alchemist is going to use as a bargaining chip to bid on the undead leaves this time. Bai he heard this and looked forward to Xiao Yan. Bai he could see that Xiao Yan was quite young. At such a young age, he had reached the early stage of a one-star Do Xian, and even his alchemist skills had reached the third rank Emperor rank. All these things showed that behind this guy, it is very likely that there is a tyrannical force, otherwise, it is impossible to achieve what it is today with just one person. This is what I bid for this time. The next moment, Xiao Yan did not hesitate and said directly. What was reflected in Baihe's pupils was a rather rounded pill the size of a dragon's eye, exuding extremely tyrannical fluctuations. What a strong fluctuation. This fluctuation alone is likely to be comparable to the elixir of the 4th grade immortal rank and the peak of the sky. But it is a pity that this is only a prototype elixir. Bai he immediately gave his evaluation. After all, Xiao Yan but the city lord had asked the guy who had special care. I believe that Lord Baihe also knows that although a prototype medicine pill is not as good as those real medicine pills, its value is probably on the same level. Xiao Yan looked at Baihe's pupils showing a trace of heat. Open mouth. Hey, Master Alchemist, this thing is good or not, but as an alchemist, I believe you are more aware of the value of undead leaves. The immortal leaf is related to the holy flame of the undying fire. If Master Alchemist can get it, maybe he can find the holy flame of undying fire. At that time, Master Refining Medicine must be even more powerful, so the value of this undying leaf is naturally very high. It's just the prototype pill of this immortal rank 4th grade heaven rank peak. Bai he said in a word. It's really a cunning old fox. Xiao Yan cursed bitterly in his heart. The rudimentary medicinal pills are quite rare. When refining medicinal pills, you only need to add medicinal materials to volatilize the medicinal effect, which saves many tedious steps. Xiao Yan said, Lord Alchemist, to tell you the truth, someone has already come up with a bigger bargaining chip. If you don't take out some things that are at the bottom of the box, I'm afraid this is an immortal leaf. Bai he said in a low voice when he saw this. Is it the guy from the private room number 1? Xiao Yan said slowly without being surprised at all. Your Excellency really expects things like God. Bai he was not surprised when he heard it. After all, he was a simple pharmacist who could reach the 3rd rank of Emperor rank at such an age. If that's the case, I still have one more thing. However, the next moment, within Xiao Yan's body, a strange flame with a hint of cyan slowly emerged from his body. And with the appearance of this cyan flame, the entire small room was suddenly filled with a more powerful force. Ghostly. In the ghost world, most of the powerhouses are unidentified. They may be souls, or they may be 3 souls and 7 souls, and only real human beings can devour the holy flame. Otherwise, if an ordinary soul or a body with 3 souls and 7 souls devours the holy flame, it will be instantly wiped out by the holy flame. There is only one exception. In the ghost world, there are 2 flames of the ghost world. These 2 flames of the ghost world have been contaminated with countless ghosts. They are the great supplements dreamed by the ghost world. One of them is ghost face and soul inflammation. What kind of flame is this? The next moment, Baihe's pupils shrank tightly, his eyes locked on the blue flame in Xiao Yan's hand. Reading www. Link to youcanshu.com. What is this? I believe that Lord Baihe knows better than me. Xiao Yan said, playing with the blue flame at will, and said with a smile. This azure flame is the holy flame separated by Xiao Yan from the ghost-faced soul flame holy flame crystal. The ghost face and soul flame has been swallowed up by Xiao Yan. Even if Xiao Yan separates a trace of the source of holy flame to form the holy flame, it will not have much impact on Xiao Yan. This is Xiao Yan's last trump card. Such a strange and sinister power, it really is ghost face and soul flame. But this flame energy seems a little weak. He whispered. Hey, holy flame is a wonder of heaven and earth, even I have never seen it, but when I was traveling, I accidentally got a trace of ghost face ghost flame. Although the power of this fire is not comparable to the real ghost face and soul flame, but because this is the ghost world, its power, I am afraid I don't need to say more. Xiao Yan did not introduce too much. After all, he knew that ghost face ghost flame was in the ghost world. It is like an attractive lethal poison. He. Master Alchemist is really a big hand. Lao, please go back and rest. I believe that after a while, the ownership of this undead leaf will be settled. Bye, he said slowly. I hope you don't let me down. Xiao Yan put away the trace of ghost face and soul flame, and then returned the same way. This guy's background is a bit terrifying. The next moment, following Xiao Yan's departure, in the small private room, the figures of the city lord Su Feng and Li Qin, as well as several old men, slowly appeared. Continuing from the previous episode 1162. City Lord, Butler Li, are you over there? Bye, he said with a slow smile upon seeing this. Well, it's over. The things that the three Lei Qingyu families have come up with are quite good. It seems that they are bound to win this auction. Li Qin smiled. Obviously, the three Lei Qingyu families are naturally responsible for her. Responsive. It's just that in this private room, in addition to Bai He, the city lord Feng Feng and Li Qin, there are also several older people who are obviously very rare in the city lord's mansion. The final vesting of the auction. I don't know what treasures the three families took out. One of the old man with white hair asked. What the Lei family brought out is the treasure of their clan, the technique of Thunder Body. Li Qin said calmly, the lightning technique of the intermediate level of the Holy Order? Bai, he couldn't help but be surprised when he heard the words. He knew the tyranny of this lightning body technique. This lightning body technique was a volume of middle-level holy level exercises, but it was still a volume of genuine body forging techniques. In the process of training, in addition to the Do Chi Pulse, there are also the art of body forging and many branches. The art of body forging is, to put it bluntly, strengthening the body, but the art of bodybuilding is quite rare. Obviously, the art of bodybuilding can achieve the limit is limited, so almost no one chooses to forge the body, but chooses to cultivate Do Chi, but only Bai He knows that although he and Lei family patriarch Lei Li both belong to the late two-star Do Xian strength, but in the real life and death battle, he is still invincible he. The reason for this is that it is due to the merits of the lightning body technique. From this, it can be seen that in some cases, this technique and body forging technique are better than fighting Qi. The technique of Thunder Body, not bad. What else? The other old men nodded and smiled in satisfaction. The thing that the Qing family brought out is quite special. It is a kind of crazy magic pill that is enough to raise the powerhouse below the 3-star Do Xian by a whole rank in a short period of time. Li Qin continued, crazy magic pill? I didn't expect this kind of medicine to actually exist. This kind of medicinal pill was attributed to the forbidden pill in the past, because its effect is too great, and after the strength is improved, it will not leave too many sequelae. If the city lord gets it, I'm afraid there will be an extra life-saving talisman in his hand. The white-haired old man Zaidu said. And that Yu family, the things they brought out were a little special. The next moment, Li Qin hesitated. How is it special? Su Feng asked Li Qin so hesitantly. The thing that the Yu family brought out is called a scroll of Fengling Xixiang Ju, and it is a scroll of fighting skills at the intermediate level of the Holy Order. Although the rank is only the middle rank of the Holy Rank, it can be given to 4 people to practice together, and after training, the 4 of them will work together. Even if they are hungry and strong at the same rank, they can only retreat. Its power is temporarily mobilized into his body, and its power is probably rare. Li Qin said, joint fighting skills? Bai He couldn't help but say, obviously this is the first time I've heard of this kind of thing. Although this thing is good, it is not very useful for our city lord's mansion, so my opinion is to choose between the first 2. The white-haired old man said, hey, old man Bai, don't worry, I have some interesting things here. Bai He smiled. What? After Bai He said this, everyone's eyes were cast towards Bai He, because they all knew that Bai He was in charge of a young emperor rank 3rd grade pharmacist. He first took out an immortal rank 4th grade heaven rank peak prototype elixir. Bai He said, the prototype pill of the 4th grade heaven level peak of the immortal rank? Bai He just finished speaking, and suddenly several old men couldn't help exclaiming. There is no doubt that the most scarce in the ghost world is the pill, which is why the alchemist the reason why he has such a high status in the ghost world, otherwise, the reason why the 2-star Do Xian powerhouses like Deathwind would respect some alchemists who are still at the level of Do Emperor. But I rejected it. Bai He Zaidu said, it's okay to refuse. Although the prototype elixir of immortal rank 4th rank heaven rank peak is very valuable, but there are too few pharmacists in our Yinhun Tiandong continent, and I am afraid that even if we get it, we will not be able to successfully refine it into elixir. Dead Wind shook his head and said, but the next moment, he brought out something that opened my eyes again. The next moment, he frowned. Obviously, every time he thought of the blue flame in Xiaoyan's hand, the aura in his body jumped unstoppably. What? All the strong people present asked in unison. Ziwo of Ghost-Face Soul Yan. He said lightly, but as soon as he finished speaking, the entire private room caused a burst of sigh. What? Ziwo of Ghostface and Soul Flame? And as His voice just fell, an unbelievable voice suddenly sounded slowly. Is the fire of the Ghostface and Soul? Could it be that the sense is wrong? Ghostface Soul Flame is no longer in our ghost world. How could he get it occasionally? Dead Wind shook his head and said, it shouldn't be wrong. I have felt it carefully. He heard the words and said, but he was a little strange, because even after hearing the Ghostface and Soul inflammation, the Dead Wind's face was still calm, not too surprised, and his face there is clearly something tangled up above. City Lord, could it be that the guy in the private room took out something rarer than Xiaoyan's Ghostface and Soul Flame? The next moment, a bold guess sounded in the private room. Really? It can be preliminarily determined that the mysterious person in private room number 1 is not from our Yinhushan Sizhou. I think he should come from other places. Dead Wind said, would you like to keep him? He said coldly, his voice full of killing intent. In the ghost realm, there are many factions of breath, but there is no doubt that Yinhushan is definitely a peaceful place in Lihun realm, while other places are too turbulent. Being not. After all, this is an auction, and the visitors are the guests. Dead Wind shook his head and said, City Lord, what chips did he come up with? Bai Lao said, an immortal fighting pill. After a while, Dead Wind finished speaking, but his brows slowly smiled, and a rare smile slowly lingered in the corners of his eyes. How could it be? A fighting immortal pill? As the voice of Death Wind fell, the entire private room became quiet, because they knew that even Saint Yanzuo was not as attractive as the Do immortal pill. Ziwo is not a holy flame, and it cannot make Deathwind's strength soar. Among Do immortals, the gap between each rank is huge, so it is impossible to raise a whole big rank like Do Di Dan. The fighting immortal pill, impressively can make the powerhouse below the 4-star fighting immortal level rise by a small level, and it is also in the ranks of the immortal rank 5 rank earth level medicinal pill. For example, if you have reached the 3-star Do Xian consummation, after taking it, you will naturally break through to the 3-star Do Xian and enter the 4-star Do Xian. If that Xiaoyan can come up with a more satisfactory bargaining chip, it will naturally be exchanged for him, but compared to the Do Xian Dan, the Ziwo of Ghostface Soul Yan is still not worth mentioning. Dead Wind said, with a hint of regret, obviously he is also quite greedy for Ziwo of Ghostface Soul Yan. If that's the case, I'm afraid there will already be a winner in this auction. At the next moment, Li Qin's beautiful eyes turned slightly, and she went back to the auction stage to preside over the overall situation. Let's go, it's time to complete the transaction. After Death Wind finished speaking, he and he left here directly. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1163. Everyone, be quiet. Li Qinzai returned to the auction stage, and suddenly looked at the noisy voices from all directions, and said slowly. Since Butler Li has come out, this finale should also belong to him. As Li Qin just appeared, some discerning people couldn't help but say, obviously they all wanted to know who actually bid for this undead leaf. Although this is an auction, we can't come here clearly, but as long as we know the winner of the undead leaves, they have their own methods. Among these people, only the Qing Lei Yu family was quite nervous. After all, although the chips they took out were worth a lot of money, they always felt that they were not very stable. It seemed that the preparations for this auction of the immortal leaves were still insufficient. Everyone, in order to protect the privacy of others, our city lord's mansion will naturally not disclose the winner of the undead leaves. However, the undead leaves have been successfully auctioned, and this auction has also ended successfully. If you are interested, you can stay. Our city lord's mansion will hold a banquet in the past few days. Li Qin smiled sweetly. If that's the case, then we won't stop. Farewell. Some intermittent voices sounded. The auction is over? Xiao Yan shook his head when he heard the words in private room number 3. It's over. It seems that the auction of the immortal leaves has not fallen into our hands. Ming smiled helplessly. Although he had expected it, but now that he really heard Li Qin's announcement, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Respected pharmacist, please move to the back room. The fairy elixir and earth dragon blood crystal you photographed will be delivered to you later. The next moment, a girl wearing a professional attire came gently. In the private room number 3, he suddenly smiled slowly to the Qing family, and then said respectfully to Xiao Yan. Patriarch Ming, I still have some personal matters. I won't go back to the Qing family with you this time. If the Qing family has any needs, just ask. Xiao Yan smiled, and after he finished speaking, he followed the girl away. Let's go too, the nearest ghost city should not be peaceful. Seimei smiled and said immediately. Qinger, let's go. How can a golden scale be a thing in the pool? Seeing Qinger's nostalgic figure of Xiao Yan leaving, Ming couldn't help but say. I know, let's go. And Qinger glanced at Xiao Yan's leaving figure with a little nostalgia, and she suddenly felt relieved at the next moment, and smiled directly. Father, that undead leaf. As only the 3 members of the Qing family were left in the entire private room, Qing Wen couldn't help but say. This guy Xiao Yan probably has the same goal as us, but there are not a few forces with the same goal as us in the Ghost King City. If you can help, then help him. This immortal leaf is of great importance. As long as it doesn't fall into the Yu family's Lei family, then we can't control it. Seimei said a lesson. After the 3 of them finished speaking, they also went back to Qing's house. After all, with the end of the auction of the undead leaves, open and secret battles will also collide more and more. Hey, Master Alchemist, I really admired it for a long time. The girl just led Xiao Yan to the back hall, and suddenly a hearty laughter slowly entered Xiao Yan's ears. What kind of wind blows the city lord of dead wind? Xiao Yan smiled and walked up, but his eyes noticed that there were Li Qin and Bai He not far away. Sir Xiao Yan is really joking. I originally planned to receive you in person, but the status of the guest in the private room is a bit special. I hope Sir Xiao Yan can ignore the previous suspicion. Death Feng accompanied him with a smile. With the means of death and the relationship with the Qing family, it is natural to know that the 3rd-grade emperor rank pharmacist in the 3rd private room just now is Xiao Yan. It's okay, Xiao Yan said. Xiao Yan naturally knew that, as the city lord of the dead wind, coupled with the strength of his 2-star Do Xian perfection, he would treat him like this. He didn't have to think about it. Stopping him, on the other hand, maybe he had some thoughts on Xiao Yan's ghost face, Yan Ziwo, but he was afraid of the hidden strength behind Xiao Yan, so he acted like this. Sir Xiao Yan, the fairy pills and the blood crystals of the earth dragon you auctioned are all stored in this collection ring. Please take a look. After a while, Li Qin walked up directly, with a beautiful collection ring in his hand facing it. Xiao Yan said, yes. Seeing this, Xiao Yan didn't hesitate, took Na Jia directly, and checked it under the eyes of the 3 of them. After a few minutes, among the 3 confirmations, it was indeed the immortal spirit pill and the earth dragon blood crystal. Xiao Yan immediately put it away, and then said with a smile, since the auction has ended, I won't stay any longer. Everyone, farewell. After Xiao Yan finished speaking, he raised his legs and walked outside. Lord Xiao Yan, wait a minute. Just when Xiao Yan was about to leave, Su Feng smiled slightly, his eyes filled with hesitation. What else is there for the city lord of dead wind? Xiao Yan said with a smile. The characters accompanied by the dragon blood crystal at the auction site are already on their way. They should come to the Ghost King City in less than a month. At that time, Sir Xiao Yan will be able to go to the Ghost Heaven continent under their protection. Said the dead wind, don't worry, the dead city lord. I will stay in the Ghost King City for this month, and I just need to inform me when the time comes. Xiao Yan said with a smile, and he was about to leave after saying that, but the corner of his mouth was a smile appeared. Slightly a little. Hold on, I have one more thing to do. At the next moment, there was an ugly look on the old face of the dead wind. What else does the deceased city lord have to do? Xiao Yan frowned and said it's a shame to say, but the deceased is still unwilling. I don't know if the ghost-faced soul flaming fire in Brother Xiao Yan's hands can be exchanged for me? Dead Wind said, looking forward to Xiao Yan's reaction. Hee, Lord of the Dead City. I got this ghost face and soul flame by accident. If it wasn't for the strong family at the time, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to get it by myself. Furthermore, That ghost-faced Soul Yan's Ziwo can't compare to the price of the mysterious person in the private room number 1, so I will disappoint the dead city master. Xiao Yan said with a hint of apology, obviously guessing the dead wind long ago. The purpose? Oh, there's no way. That guy took out a Do Xian pill, and I was stuck in the 2-star Do Xian, and I was greedy for a while. Xie Feng also shook his head when he heard the words. Obviously, he also knew that, except for treasures of the level of Undead Leaf, to exchange other things with Xiao Yan for the Ziwo of Ghostface and Soul Flame would be like a fool's dream. If it is exchanged, it is not impossible. Xiao Yan said, "Is this true?" Hearing the words, Xie Feng was overjoyed. Sir Xiao Yan needs anything, just say it. Dead Wind laughed loudly. I need all the information about the Hammer Mercenary Group, as well as all the whereabouts of the mysterious person who photographed the undead Yi. Xiao Yan said, Okay, it's up to you. Yi Feng heard the words, but he gritted his teeth and said directly. It's a pleasure to cooperate. Xiao Yan said with a smile. End of this chapter. Continuing from the previous episode 1164. City Lord, this move is inevitable. Seeing that Death Feng and Xiao Yan hit it off, Li Qin's beautiful eyes flickered slightly, and she walked over to Death Feng's ear and said softly. As the butler of the City Lord's mansion, Li Qin is naturally clear that the City Lord Feng Feng's actions in the Ghost King City have always been upright and disciplined. There has never been such a thing as selling intelligence and absurdity, so it is inevitable to be a little angry. Xiaoqin, you know, the City Lord has worked hard for the Ghost King City for so long, it's time to enjoy it. Bai He on the side said. But this is too. Li Qin was obviously a little stunned, unable to speak for a while. Xiaoqin, you should know that the mysterious person's identity is unknown, and he also forged the identity of the alchemist. It is very likely that he is a desperado. Moreover, the whereabouts of the Hammer Mercenary Group are quite strange, so the city owner's move is also considered. It's reasonable. Bai He smiled. Lord Bai, let's go. There are still some things that have not been dealt with in the auction. Let's go down and have a look. The next moment, Li Qin was relieved, and immediately left here with Bai He. Lord Xiao Yan, take a step to speak. And watching Bai He and Li Qin go down, Dead Wind smiled at Xiao Yan. The two slowly entered the private room. This private room is airtight, so don't worry, adults. As soon as he entered it, Dead Wind said, Let's get down to business, otherwise I'm afraid I'll miss the time. Xiao Yan said with a frown. If a trace of ghost-faced soul flame can be exchanged for the news of the undead leaves and the whereabouts of the seal fighting skill, it will definitely be worth it. Don't worry, my lord. That undead leaf was indeed taken away by the mysterious man in the private room number 1, but that guy also knew that he was a Shangmomo now, so he did not leave the Ghost King City, but chose to temporarily live in the Ghost King City. Based on the information I got, I'm afraid I'm waiting for help. Dead Wind analyzed. How strong is this guy? Xiao Yan asked. Although it's a bit embarrassing to say it, this guy is very strong, at least, I'm not even his opponent. Dead Wind said. 3-star fighting immortal? Xiao Yan couldn't help exclaiming, if this mysterious person's strength reached the 3-star fighting fairy, I'm afraid it would be extremely difficult to obtain this undead leaf. No, although this guy's strength is quite tyrannical, he is not that kind of overwhelming power. On the contrary, it seems to be directly attacking my soul power, which catches me off guard, and I will lose to him. His strength should be on par with mine. Dead Wind explained, a 2-star Dushin who is attacking the soul is a complete powerhouse. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. This guy's every move is under my surveillance. If there is any trouble, I will send someone to notify you as soon as possible. Dead Wind said, Well, what about the Hammer Mercenary Group? Xiao Yan said, The overall strength of the Hammer Mercenary Group is not bad, but their base camp is located outside the city, so the young head of the Hammer Mercenary Group just finished the auction, and he rushed to the base camp without stopping. If it were someone else, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to track him down, but our Ghost King City has some secret passages, but it leads directly to the outer city. If the adults set out from the secret passage, he would still be able to catch up with that guy. Dead Wind said with a smile. That's very good. Xiao Yan said with a smile. My lord, I have to remind you that there are not a few guys staring at the undead leaves. You are weak. Dead Wind said with a smile. I know. Xiao Yan nodded lightly, but he felt amused in his heart. This move by Deathwind was undoubtedly showing his favor. This is the child fire of Ghostface Soul Flame. It's a pleasure to cooperate. Xiao Yan slowly emerged the blue flames of Ghostface and Soul Flame, and then directly projected it towards the wind of death. Hoo hoo hoo! A trace of fire just emerged, and suddenly there were countless ghosts permeating the private room, and even the void had traces of burning traces. Come here, Lord Xiao Yan, to the secret passage and catch up with the Hammer Mercenary group. And Deadwind carefully took over the group of cyan flames exuding bright fluctuations, and after 3 confirmations, called directly to the rear. Yes! As soon as Deathwind's voice fell, a swift figure appeared directly, and then led Xiao Yan to the secret passage. White Crane. As the two disappeared, Deathwind called out. Sir. The White Crane appeared. You go along too. My old friend seems to have some tricky things on his way to Yinhun Tiandong continent this time, so there is a lot of need for this kind of alchemist with the soul power of the 3rd rank of the Emperor. Before they arrive, we must guarantee Xiao Yan. Nothing can happen. The next moment, Deadwind said to Bai He. Yes! Bai He heard the words and immediately followed. Ah! The Ghostface and Soul, Yan Ziwo. Having the Dushan pill will allow me to break through the 3-star Dushan. With the power of this fire, I can finally return to Yinhun Tiandong continent. Ha ha ha! But in the quiet private room, there was laughter that was close to maddened by Deathwind. Is this a secret passage? Xiao Yan followed an agile entourage directly through many alleys and came to the backyard of the auction. This is the backyard, which is basically where the insiders of the auction live. Very few outsiders enter. In this backyard, there is a pond, and above the pond, there is a rockery, but Xiao Yan's intuition tells him that this rockery's something wrong. The next moment, the entourage jumped directly into the pond and rockery, and knocked 3 times on a hidden stone. Suddenly, in the rockery, a secret door was cracked open enough for people to easily pass through. Sir, let's go. Seeing the dark channel appear, the entourage said something directly to Xiao Yan, and then instantly submerged in it. Xiao Yan just poured into it, but didn't stop for a while, under the leadership of the entourage, and chased away the people from the Hammer Mercenary group. Yu Gan, what should I do now? In the Yu family conference room, Yu Gan and the 2 burly men asked. You too, don't be impatient. Now that the undead leaves are taken away, our top priority is to take the undead leaves. As for the ownership of the Ghost King City, as soon as the undead leaves are in hand, I will dispatch all the power of the family to take them into the bag, and then the entire Ghost King will be the territory of the city belongs to the 2 of you. Yu Gan smiled. That's fine, but you have to send someone to keep an eye on the mysterious man, otherwise the capture of the undead leaves will fail, and we must accept the reward. One of the strong men snorted coldly. Of course, the 2 adults of the Mad Demon group, go down and rest. Yu Gan's voice just fell, and the 2 girls immediately pushed the door lightly and entered, and then took the 2 strong men to go down to rest. 2 wastes, are you also worthy of mentioning the reward to me? Help me capture the undead leaves. The Ghost King City belongs to you. No one is stupid enough to do this kind of business. When the undead leaves are captured and the strength in the Ghost King City is almost eliminated, then it will be the end of the 2 of you. After Yu Gan finished speaking, there was actually a vicious beast-like aura slowly exuding from his body. This kind of fluctuation is the smell of fighting spirit. End of this chapter.